Hello everyone, I would like to talk to you about a sensory bin. So these are some objects that you would need and supplies to make a sensory bin. I also have a way to use it without a sensory bin, which is with Easter eggs. So we'll talk about that in a second. But in the sensory bin, I have this bucket and I have pinto beans. Beans are great because they are small enough, but they're still big enough to, if there's a mess, it's easy to clean up. So with the pinto beans, like I said, I have other options. So this is a box of crinkle paper. So it's more like a hide and seek kind of fine thing. Obviously with the crinkle paper you won't be able to scoop or pour out things. But other things you can use instead of pinto beans is rice. It does get a little messy because rice is smaller, but if your kids can handle it, then great. You can also use elbow noodles, pebbles, if you have pebbles in your backyard or something. You can use cotton balls, stuff like that. So then I have these measuring cups and a bowl and some tablespoons. This is so they can use these to scoop, to pour, and this all works on hand-eye coordination. And then they can also use tweezers to pull things out when they're using them. So in the bin you would add different things for what you're working on. So if we were working on letters, we would take our alphabet magnetic letters and stick them in there, and they could either grab them out with their pincher fingers, because that helps with pencil grip later, or with tweezers, or they could scoop them out. If you do not have magnetic letters, you can always print off something and cut it out, or you can use these note cards. I just wrote the alphabet on it and then I cut it into pieces, and then you would just stick it in there. For the lower level students, they can you can work it with just like 3 or 4 or 5 letters at a time. And with them, the littles, you can practice on them pulling them out and then work on matching. So then they would take this letter they pulled out and say, oh, which one does that one look like? That's a good skill for them. A little bit higher is you would have them pull them out. They could tell you the letter. They could put it on this to put in ABC order. I will send you a link to print this off for free, so you can do that. You could even print this out twice and then cut it and use one set to stick in there, and then they can match it on this one. There's upper and it has lowercase. So higher level learners, if they already know all their uppercase letters, then they can work on their lowercase letters. Then you can move on to math. Math, you have these numbers, and we would just stick those in here, or you could stick them in here. If you stuck them in there, they could pull out a number and you could say, what is that number? They could say 1. This is where you would start using your 10 frame. If you have a dry erase board, you could put it on there. If not, then you can use a piece of paper and just draw it. Make sure you have 5 squares on the top and 5 on the bottom. That's a 10 frame. And what you could do is you could just say, all right, what number is that? They say 1. They can take out 1 bean and stick it on there and show you 1. Or if you're using the crinkle paper or big cotton balls, then you can just add things to it that they can pull out. So you could do mini erasers in there. They could pull those out. Buttons. These are obviously learning buttons, but you could use buttons that you have at home. You could also use Legos. I know lots of boy moms out there, and probably some girl moms, they have some Legos. So you could throw those in there. They could dig them out. And then they would just make it, you just need something that would fit in your square. So if your things are bigger, just make your squares bigger. Okay, so they would show you 1. You could also do letter, working on your name. So you could put these inside there in the bean tub, and then they could use their pincher fingers. They could use the tweezers. They could pull them out, and then they would match with their names. So I pulled out an R, and I would put it over the R here, and I would keep building my name. If this is too easy for them, then just take the name card away, and then they have to use their tweezers. This works on fine motor. Pull them out, or they don't have tweezers. You can do your pincher fingers. They just like to dig around while they're doing it, which is fine. Pull out a letter. Start building your name so they can build it from there. If that still seems too simple, you know what? You start having them work on their last name. When they get into kindergarten, they will start eventually needing to know their last name in case they get in a classroom and there is more than one child with their name in it. So that's another thing you can do. So we got name, we covered name, alphabet, numbers, working with our 10 frame, with the sensory bins. So, but now I'm going to show you, if you don't have anything, I don't want you to have to go out and buy anything. Easter eggs, Easter's coming up. Hopefully you have some in your attic. I had tons. So if you don't have a sensory bin that you can do, then just use Easter eggs. Kids love opening and closing these things, so they can open it and then put in whatever you have. So I have erasers. I could put erasers in here. I could put Legos in here. Buttons, if you have that. If you have the alphabet letters, stick them in there. Like I said, if you don't have any of this stuff, you can do it paper-wise. So I could even stick a number 2 in there, and I could close it, and then they could work on opening it and then telling you what the number is, number 2. They can put the numbers in order, 0 through 10. If you're in the 2s class, work on 0 through 5. If you are in the 3s class, I would work through 0 through 10. If you're in the pre-K class, start working on numbers 1 through 10 for sure, and then maybe even start introducing 11 through 20. See how well they do. Of course, if you get into bigger numbers, then you would need 2 10 frames. So that way I could work on the number 11. I would fill up one whole 10 frame and then go to the next one. Or if 20 would be both 10 frames filled up. With the Easter eggs, you can also put in things for them to count out. So I would close it. They'd pull it out. I'd tell them, okay, dump it on here. And then they would just count it out. 1, 2, excuse my feet, 3, 4, 5. And then if they are not writing just yet, then you could just look here and say which one of these numbers shows you 5. This helps with correlation between the symbol and the amount. So 5 and then 5 frogs. You could even do the alphabet the same way, or their name. You could put their name in each little Easter egg, have them open it up. They get to pull it all out, and the littles could match. The olders could create their name, and then the ones that have that down then start working on last name. So this is kind of a sensory bin with the adaptation that you don't have any of that things, then you can use Easter eggs. Once again, that's just, it covers a variety of things. Listening, they have to listen to you, grab out 4 beans for me, show me 4, or you can pretend you're making soup and say, you know what, for a recipe, we need 4 frogs, 2 Legos, we need 3 beans, and let them do that. It works on fine motor, picking up, listening skills, math skills, alphabet skills, name recognition. It's got the works. If you are still having a hard time with this because you don't have these things, Easter eggs, beans, or the other things I listed, please contact me and I will talk to you and we'll work out and discuss what you have at home and we can see what we can do. All right. Y'all have fun.